Good evening. Hope you're all doing well. Today we're learning Maseches Sanhedrin Daf Ayin, and we are starting at the bottom of the page on Samech Tes and base 2 lines from the bottom. Let's jump right in. We have a lot of material to cover, and I have to hit the 9:30 mark. Says the Gemara at the end of the line, 2 lines from the bottom, Ben velo bas, a diuk, that it's called a Ben sorer umore, not a bas soreres umoras. It says the Gemara. Tanya, we have a brisa. Amar Reb Shimon, bedinu shetehei bas ru'uya lios keben sorer umore. Really, there should be a girl who's also in that category of a ben sorer umore, just in the female version. Shehakol mitzuin etzla be'avera, top of ayin right up, because everybody could do the same averas. What's the difference between a boy and a girl? Says the Gemara, El exeris kasevi ben below bas. No rational mind is ever going to be able to answer why that's the case of the Eibishter Gezogt. He said that that's what's going to happen. So that's what's going to happen. A woman is not shaykh by ben sorer umore. Says the Gemara on Einam and Aleph in a new Mishnah, what is the threshold whereupon one becomes chayv as a ben sorer umore? The last couple of days, we spoke about the age bracket of a boy who is maybe shtei saros, and before he is Yaakov Zakon Tachton, before he grows the pubic hair above the aver. And says the Gemara, what else does he have to do to violate the Isser? So says the Gemara, Misha Yochal Tarte Mar Basar. We'll see soon what that's a measurement. We'll see soon what that is. And if he drinks, I should say, a half of a lug of wine that is italki. What does italki mean? Yain ha-italki, Rashi says 2 lines from the top, tov u'ma'ulehu, umamshech basre. It's very drawing. Oh, this is so good. I want more. So we'll see soon in the Gemara that the fact that he's mamshech after the tarte mar shel basar and after the chatzit, that the draw, the fact that we know he wants more of it, that's actually what's going to be his demise. That's the Tanakama. Rabbi Yossi Omer, mana basar velogya, and he says it's different amounts, it's larger amounts, at least it seems that way. Achal bechaburas mitzvah. Let's say he eats a tarte mar shel basar, but he does it in a chabura shel mitzvah, let's say, for example, around the Korban Pesach. Achal be'ibur hachodesh. When they were ma'aber the chodesh, they would also have a little suda. I didn't know that until this morning when I was preparing for Daf Yomi. Did you know that? I had no idea. They're ma'aber the chodesh, they have a suda. Achal ma'aser sheni b'Yerushalayim. So they took the kedusha of the food, they put it on a coin, and they brought the ma'aser sheni to Yerushalayim. And then this guy bought his tarte mar shel basar and drank his wine. Nope, that wouldn't count. Achal nevelos u'treifos shkatzim or muslim, even if it was delicacies, but it was treif, then he's not going to be considered a ben sorer umore. Skip the parentheses. Achal davar shehu mitzvah, the davar shehu avera. We'll define those in the Gemara. Achal kol machal velo. Achal kol machal. If he ate every food under the sun, total gluttony. However, velo achal basar. He ate like a glutton. He's got food all over his face. His bib is covered in barbecue sauce. But lamaisa, he ate no meat. So then, or shasa kol mashke v'lo shasa yain. He drank everything else. He could be trash drunk, but he didn't drink the chatzi log yain ha'italki. Eino nase ben sorer umore ad sheyochal basar v'yishte yain. You need to drink both. You need to eat and or drink. You need to eat and drink the meat and the wine. Shenemar zolel v'sove. Words that indicate both meat and wine. And even though I can't prove it to you, midoraisa, that's what the Gemara seems to posit, is that there is no raya. Even though that's true, says the Gemara, but there is a zecher l'davar. Shene'amar, first of the long lines on Ayin Amud Aleph, the Gemara says, Al tihi b'sovei yain b'zololei basar lama. A little bit of a reference from a pasuk that can be found in Sefer Mishlei. End of the Mishnah. Let's get into the details here. Amar Reb Zera, tarte marze eni yodea mahu. I don't know what this is. What is a tarte mar? Ella, I can just make a diuk. What is the diuk I'm going to make? Mitoch shekafel Reb Yossi biyayin. When Reb Yossi argued on the Tanakama said it was a chatzi lug yayin, and Reb Yossi says no, it's not a chatzi lug, it's a whole lug. So perhaps nimtza kofel af bebasar v'nimtza tarte mar chatzi mana. So it seems that when we talk about a tartemar, that's a very unique word. The Gemara doesn't bother to define where the word came from, but what does that word mean? It means a chatzi mana. Amar of Chanan bar Molda, we're a quarter of the way down on Ayin Amud Aleph. Amar of Huna, Eino chayv achi yikach basar bezol v'yochal, yain bezol v'yishte. He has to find them on sale. You're not going to the store and buying a $9,000 bottle of wine. That's not it, because there's no hemshechius. That's too expensive. That's not what creates the draw after these foods. It also has to be basar bezol and yain bezol. Dichsiv zolel v'sove. Zolel is from the word zol, which means cheap, which means that these things have to be affordable to the person. It has to be a good wine. He's buying it on eBay. He's not buying it in the store. He's buying it at a discount. Amar Rav Chanan bar Molda, Amar Rav Huna, Eino chai v'ad sheyochal basar chai v'yishte yain chai. He has to eat raw meat. Wow, that's disgusting. We'll see what that means. V'yishte yain chai. And he has to drink wine that is chai. Usually that means wine that's undiluted, extremely strong wine. We're not used to that. That would be thick. It would be viscous. We're used to wine that's watered down. There are shilas in poskim. How much water can you add before the bracha shifts from borei priagafen to shehakol? Ayin Sham in the poskim what those ratios are. Eini says the Gemara, how can you say, Rav Chanan, that we're talking about raw meat and undiluted wine? The exact opposite. You wanted to say that it has to be raw and undiluted meat and wine, respectively. No, it's the exact opposite. If you did that, you're not a ben sorer remora. So the Gemara says a third of the way down, Amar Ravina, yayin chai mazig velo mazig. When we talk about wine that's undiluted, it means that it's mazig velo mazig. It's only a little bit watered down, but not totally watered down, just partial dilution. What is basar chai that's raw? Bashil velo bashil. This is what we would call rare. If you cook meat rare, again, I don't know what the halachic parameter of this is, but if it looks red, and again, I don't mean to be halachic here, but if it's that kind of rare where you look at it and you're like, that's a little too pink on the inside, which for me is any pink on the inside, medium well, please. The Gemara says over here, that's when you're chayiv in the din of ben sorer remora. Kibasar kiba de achli ganve. It's like meat that's put over coals that the thieves eat. They're always running, and it's not fully cooked. 8 lines into the wide lines, end of the line. Rabba v'Rav Yosef damri tarvayu. They say, achal basar meliach v'shasa yain migito. If a person eats salted meat, or if he drinks wine that's still in the gas, still in the vat, which is very fresh, it hasn't really fermented yet, ein nase ben sorer remora. It's not any wine and any meat. Like halacha always, we have very rigid parameters around what makes a person into a ben sorer remora, and this just doesn't qualify. Tanan Hassam, let's see if we can learn some of the rules of Ben Sorer Remora from another area of halacha. We have a Mishnah. This is a Mishnah that we've seen before in Maseches Tainis, many years ago at this point. The Gemara says as follows. Erev Tisha B'Av. What's the halacha by Erev Tisha B'Av? We know that we're supposed to eat certain foods. Lo yochal adam shnei tavshilin. Your sudas mafsekes should not have 2 different cooked dishes. V'lo yochal basar v'lo yishte yain. No meat and no wine. Vitana. In regards to Tisha B'Av, what does it say? This as well can be found in Maseches Tainis. Avel ochel hu basar meleach v'shosi yain megito. An avel, a person who's in mourning, is allowed to eat salted meat and wine that is freshly squeezed. Basar maliach ad kama. How do we define basar maliach? So says the Gemara, Amar Reb Chanina bar Kahana, kol zman shehi keshlamim. As long as it's like a shlamim, which is a korban that lasts 2 days and 1 night. This is good yedias that I did not know. Halavai, I wish I would have known it. The korban shlamim is allowed to be consumed for 2 days and 1 night. And the Gemara says that's how we define basar meliach, that from the time it's salted, 2 days and 1 night, that's what the avil is allowed to eat. What's v'yayin migito ad kama? What does it mean, wine that's been freshly pressed? Kol zman shu toses. As long as there's any fermentation happening, that is what the avil is allowed to drink. Tanya yayin toses ein bo mishum gilui. That wine that's fermenting, there is no prohibition of leaving that drink uncovered at night. We know, we're familiar with the din called mayim megulim, that we have a concern, midrabanan, to drink a liquid that's been left uncovered overnight. And the Gemara, and discussed elsewhere, says that we're concerned that a snake might have left its venom in a drink and a person can die. The Gra, on this idea in Shulchan Aruch, writes that there are 99 reasons for every 1 reason that you see. Chazal only they were megala tefach and they hid tefachim. So they showed you a little bit. We're worried about a nachash. We're also worried about a whole host of other things. So here the Gemara says that it's ein bo mishum gilui v'kamat sisaso, and in that brisa which says that there's no problem of fermenting wine being revealed, how long did it say that it was? It didn't say that it's just fermenting. It said shlosha yamim. It said 3 days. It's not just that gives me a fixed amount of time. So those are some of the halachos by Erev Tisha B'Av. Hachamai, are we able to extrapolate from the world of Tisha B'Av, where we learned some parameters about wine, and bring that back over here to the world of Ben Soreh Rumoreh? So the Gemara says halfway down, no. No, there is no comparison. Hasam, by the world of Tisha B'Av, what are we worried about? Mishum simchahu. There, our concern is about simcha. As long as it's within the first couple of days, that's considered to be simcha. But here, in regards to the world of Ben Soreh Rumoreh, we're concerned about this guy who's chasing the wine, chasing the meat. That's what we're concerned about. Uvechol shehu lo mimshach. V'yayin ad mem yom uv'chol lo mimshach, which is a little bit of meat. That's not what's going to make him excited. It has to be the right kind of meat, the right quality meat, tarte marshal basar, and wine is up to 40 days. Says the Gemara, Amar of Chanan, Lo nivra yain ba'olam, ela lenachem avelim u'leshalem schar l'rashayim. Yikes. The only reason why HaKadosh Baruch Hu created wine was to give comfort to those who are mourning and to pay out the rewards, the dividends in this world for the Rishayim. And in fact, for the rest of the Gemara, for almost the rest of the Gemara, we're going to be speaking about wine. Let's see the pasuk as to why Rav Chanan said what he said, that wine was only created for Nichum Avelim and for Rishayim. Shneimar, Tnu Shechar Le'oved, that the Oved, the one who lost out, is talking about a Rasha. The Yayin Lamare Nefesh, and wine for someone who has a bitter soul, namely someone who's in a lot of emotional pain, namely an Avel. Rav Yitzchak, yayin ki isadam. You should not see the wine when it turns red. Al teira yayin shema'adim pneim shel rashayim ba'olam hazeh. You don't want to see the wine that makes a Rasha's face red in this world. Umalvin pneihin la'olam haba, and it makes his face white, namely he gets embarrassed in the next world. Rav has a different pshat in the pasuk. Rav Amar al teira yayin ki sadam. What does that pasuk mean? Al teira yayin she'achriso dam. You don't want to see the wine that causes for death. In what case do we see that wine causes death? That's us. That's Ben Soreh Rumoreh. So that's what Rava says the pasuk is talking about. The next idea in regards to wine is as follows. Rav Kahana Rami Ksiv. Rav Kahana says there's tiras in psukim. The pasuk is written tirash. This pasuk can be found in Bereshis, Vayitin lechaha Elokim itala shamayim mishmane haaretz v'rov dagan, and it says v'sirosh, but it's written without a vav, so it looks like sirash v'karina and sirosh. So what's with the Greek sieve? So the Gemara says about 2/3 of the way down, zacha. If a person drinks the right way, and there's a way to drink the right way. Most people don't drink the right way. But if the person does drink the right way, then Nase Rosh, then he's going to be considered ahead. He'll be considered the good guy. Lo Zacha Nase Rosh. If not, he's going to be considered something terrible. Rava Ramiksiv, the pasuk there is a little bit different. This pasuk can be found in Tehillim. V'yayin yisamach levav enosh la'atzil panim yishamen v'lechem levav enosh yisad. But the pasuk says yisamach, but it's written differently. Yismach v'karinan yisamach, or I should say yishmach v'karinan yisamach. Zacha misamcho. If you're zocha, it'll make you happy. Lo zacha, if you drink wine incorrectly, mishamemehu, it will destroy you. Ainu de Amar Rava, who knew how to drink well, chamra v'reichani pikchin. Wine and good smelling things, they made me a pikeach. Wasn't Rava the one who accidentally killed someone on Purim? Was that Rava and Reb Zera? Rabba? Yeah, it's got to be Rabba, 3rd century Amona, correct. I was going to say, if it was Rabba, then I don't know if we want to be saying that you did such a good job with the wine. Anyways, that's what Rava says, is that the wine helped him to reach great levels. The next idea about wine, Amar of Amram, Bereder of Shimon bar Abba, Amar of Chanina. My dichsiv, what does the pasuk mean when it says lemi oy? To who is their oy? Lemi avoy. To who is their avoy? A negative. Lemi medanim, lemi siach, lemi pitzayim. Who has all of these injuries? Chinam, all of these unnecessary injuries. Lemi chachlilo seinaim. To who has all of these damage in the eyes? The pasuk answers lema acham alay yayin. Those who are very involved in wine. Lebayim lachkor mimasach, and those who are coming to investigate different types of wine. And kiyasa Rav Dimi Amar Amri ben Rava Hai Kra. Those who learn from the Reisha to the Seifa, that's a fine explanation. When we Seifa the Reisha, Midarish, they can also learn from the end to the beginning. So the first part of the pasuk that we just saw a couple lines ago, the one that begins with Lemi Oi, asks a bunch of questions, and then the second part of the pasuk is the answer. So you can either start with the questions, which is Resha, and then go to the Seifa and say, oh, who's the one who's going to have all of these troubles? It's the guy who drinks a lot of wine. Or you can reverse it. You can say, people who drink a lot of wine, they have a lot of problems. What are their problems? Oh, Lemi Oi, Lemi Avoy. So either way you learn the pasuk, you're good to go. Darash, says the Gemara, Darash over Galilah, Yud Gimel Vavin. There are 13 Vavs. Rashi doesn't learn this way. Tosfos does. Rashi learns that the Vavin is Vayin, times when we say Oi. But if I actually counted the Vavs, I counted 14. I didn't count 13. But the Gemara over here says that there are 13 Vavin in the following psukim. A lot of reading from Parshas Noach. Vayachel Noach ish ha'adama vayata kerem. That Noach, when he got out of the teva, he planted a vineyard. Vayesh min hayayin vayishkar. He drank from the wine and he became drunk. Vayiskal b'socho halo, and he revealed himself in the tent. Vayarcham avi Canaan. Cham saw his father Eser v'asaviv. He saw that he was naked. Vayagei l'shnei achav b'chutz, and he told his brothers. Vayikach Shem v'Yefes, his brothers showed up and they took es hasimla. They took a blanket. V'yasimu al Shem shneim. They covered Noach with that. Vayelach achoronis. They walked backwards so that Shem and Yefes wouldn't see their father's nakedness. Vaychas was ervas. And when Noach woke up, he knew that something terrible happened with his son Cham. Rav Shmuel, Chadamar Sirsu. One shita is that he castrated his father. There's got to be some father issues here. That's not a normal thing to do. He castrated his father. Some Omer, Riva'o, and some say no, that Cham sodomized his father. Manda Amar Sar, so one who says that he castrated his father. So then, mitoch shekil kilo b'revi, because Noach couldn't have more children. How many kids did he have so far? Shem, Cham, Yefes. He wanted to have a fourth, but he couldn't have a fourth because his son castrated him. So therefore, because he was mekalkel, the fourth child, therefore, kilalo b'revi, Cham also was cursed with his fourth child. Who was that? Canaan. Fourth to fourth. According to the one who said that he didn't prevent him from having more children, he sodomized him. That doesn't castrate you. It's inappropriate. It's usher, 100 problems with it, but it doesn't stop you from having children. So, Gamar, Vayar, Vayar. Here we make a Gzeira Shava to the world of Canaan. How so? Right? We see Canaan in our pasuk. And he violated her. So that's how we see that there's Revia. So I could understand according to the Shita that says that Cham castrated his father Noach because the Sirus prevented Noach from having a fourth child. I could understand why the fourth child of Cham would be the one who has problems. Why was it Canaan? Who cares that it was the fourth child? I would have thought Balabatish, the word Reva'o sounds like the word Rova, Revi. It's not what the Gemara says. That's a Balabatish answer. Nilte Behedja, the guy should have been cursed directly. Forget about the fourth child. He did something wrong. He was Rovea. He sodomized his father. He should have been punished right away. Why the fourth child? So says the Gemara, he did both. He castrated his father and he sodomized his father. So that's why he needed both consequences. He needed to be cursed directly, and he also needed his fourth son to be given the consequence. So says the Gemara. We said that Noach was a man of the ground. He was a man of the earth, agricultural kind of guy, and he planted a vineyard. Amar Rav Chizda, Amar Mar Ukva, or Amri Lo, Amar Mar Ukva, Amar Rav Zakai, Amar LeKadosh Baruch Hu Noach. Noach, Lo Hecha Lilmod Me'adam Arishon. You should have known from Adam Arishon not to get drunk like that. Why? Shelo garam lo elayayin. All the problems that Adam had came from wine. Why? Because there's an assumption here. Keman de Amar oso ilan she'achal mimenu Adam Arishon gefen haya. Wow, big machlokas tanoim. What was the tree of Eitz Hadas? According to this shita, it was that the Eitz Hadas was a vineyard. It was grapes. And Chava gave Adam grapes and he got drunk. And then what happened? Everything was terrible. Everything was terrible. We're paying the price today. Titania, where is this machlokas tanoim discussing the possibilities of what the Eitz Hadas was? Says the Gemara Titania. The Brisa says, Rav Meir Omer, also ilan she'achal Adam Arishon mimenu gefen hoya. Reb Meir, the Tanakama, says that what caused all of the problems, that the Eitz Hadas, was that it was a grape, was a vineyard, it was grapes, and he drank it. Turning to the top of Ayin Amud Beis, She'ein lecha davar shemevi yilala la'adam ela yayin. The type of wailing, yilala means wailing or crying, the type of wailing that a person sees the most is when it comes from wine. Rabbi Yehuda Omer, no, it had to be chita. It had to be wheat. She'ein hatinok yodea likra abba ve'ima ad sheyitom tam daga. Children only start eating food like wheat only when they are a little bit older. That's the age, approximately, at least in the times of the Gemara. We've changed things now. We start giving our kids solids at 6 months. It's usually not wheat-based. We'll give them those little soft crackers, teach them how to eat, a little bit of oatmeal, those kinds of things, very sloppy food, very thin food. But back in the day, they would give them some dagon. So dagon, they'd give him wheat, then he knew how to talk to his father. That means that chita has to do with das. What was the tree called? It's a das. So therefore, it must be that it was chita. So says the Shita Rebbe Yehuda. Reb Nechemi Omer Te'enahu. No, it was a date tree. It was dates. Shebedavar shekil kilabo niskenu. Look at this beautiful shot in the psukim. It has to be that it was a date tree because the tikkun that they did, what happened after they ate from the tree Eitz Hadas? Remember, then they knew that they were undressed in front of another. How did they solve? Shenemar ba'yispru alei te'ena. Oh, beautiful pshat in the Gemara that we take. A beautiful Gemara that they took the leaves of a fig tree and covered themselves. They didn't know that they were naked before. They had not objectified each other in that way. There were no body parts that were sexualized. They didn't know. They didn't know. Society hadn't been. Only when there's chait is there such a reality. But a person who's above chait doesn't see the world that way. So that's why Rabbi Yehuda said it has to be te'ena, because what happened when they ate? They all of a sudden realized they were undressed and they used the fig leaves. The Gemara is going to continue now talking about wine, and one of the names we're going to see over here is Muel, and this is talking about another name for Shlomo HaMelech, not as complex as yesterday's Gemara with Shlomo, where we had to figure out how old each generation was, and we said, is 8 considered an age when you can have children? Not that complicated. This is a story of a conversation between Bathsheba and Shlomo, the wife of David and the son of David and Bathsheba. Divrei Lemuel, Melech, Masa Asher Yisarto Imo, the mother was giving him Yisurim. Amar Rabbi Yochanan, Mishum Reb Shimon ben Yochai, Alam Shekfa'aso Imo al Ha'amud. The mother laid him over a pillar, over a bedpost of something. It looked like she was going to smack him, beat him, whatever the case was. Well, Amar Allah. And she said, and this is stated in Pasuk, this is a Pasuk in Sefer Mishlei, Ma beri, Uma bar bitni, Uma bar nidri. What are you doing, my son? What are you doing, the fruit of my womb? What are you doing, my neder? Ma'beri, what does that part of the pasuk mean? Hakol yodem shavicha yarei shamayim haba. Everybody knows that your father is David HaMelech and he's a yarei shamayim. Achshav yomru, that with your misbehaviors, imo garmalo. If your father is a tzaddik and you end up not being a tzaddik, must be that I, the mother, Bathsheba, was the one who caused it. What does the next part of the pasuk mean? Ma bar bitni, kol anashim shel beis avich. All of his other wives, kevan shemis abros, once they get pregnant, shuvein ros pnei melech. Then they're not intimate with the king anymore. I pushed myself and I went into that room to have Tashma Shemitah again, so that my son would be Mezuraz and Meluban, that he would be a child with extra alacrity, and he would be just a remarkable child. There is such an idea found in the Gemara and other places as well. The Tashma Shemitah during pregnancy is a Yafel of Vlad. That's what Rashi says in Dibra Maschil Bar Bitni. It says in the middle there, This is a Gemara Maseches Nida. Next part of the Gemara, 12 lines down, the Gemara says, Uma bar nidri. What does that pasuk mean in Mishlei when I said bar nidri? Kol nashim shel beis avich hayunodros. What were all the promises that the other wives of David HaMelech said when they would get pregnant? Yehei li ben hagun lamalchus. I want my son to be appropriate to become the next king, to be the heir to the throne. Va'ani, the last of the short lines on Ayin Amud Beis, trying to head to the bottom. We'll see how far we get. We should make it. Va'ani nadarti v'amarti yehei li ben zaraz imamula b'tor v'hagun lenevius. I don't care if you're a king. I want you to be a righteous child. I want you to have Torah. I want you to be filled with Torah, and I want you to be fit for nevuah. Wow, that's a mother's tefillah. Look what happened. Shlomo HaMelech became Shlomo HaMelech. And on the first long line, the Gemara says, don't drink the wine. Bathsheba says to him, says the Gemara, What does that pasuk mean? Amr lo bas Sheva says to Shlomo, Malachai tel malachim sheshosin yain mishtakrim ve'omrim lama lanu kel. Play off of the word limuel. Why, Shlomo, are you hanging out at the bar with these guys who drink and get drunk with all these kings who say, why should we have a god? The next part of the pasuk says, Ula rosenim ishechar, for the rosenim, which literally means for the rulers with the beer. Mishe kol raze olam galuyim lo. You, Shlomo, all of the raze olam, all of the secrets of the world are revealed to you. Yishte yayin v'yishtaker? How unsophisticated are you? You were gifted with all of the secrets at your fingertips, and what do? You're getting drunk with these kings? Ika de Amre, another pshat in the pasuk of the Rosne Mishechar. Ika de Amre, halfway down on Ayin Amid Beis. Misha kol Rosne olam mashkim in the pischo. All of the rulers of the world, Rosne again, this time it's being used as rulers. They come to knock on your door. Shlomo, I need some advice from you. Come, I need to help you. Can you help me, please? I need your help. So it says the Gemara, they knock on your door. Yishta yain v'yishtaker. You're the role model for all these people. Why are you drinking? Amar Rav Yitzchak minayin shechazer Shlomo v'hodeh le'imo. How do we know that Shlomo HaMelech took the Musar from Bathsheba from his mother? Dichsiv, because the pasuk says, this pasuk's in Mishlei, Ki va'ar anochi. I am a boor, me'ish v'lo binas adam li. And then you basically see that there was this contrition. Kivar anochi me'ish, I should have learned from Noach. How do we know that the word ish refers to Noach? Tichsiv hayachel Noach ish adama. V'lo binas adam li, I didn't understand Adam, ze Adam arishon. A reference to Adam, he misread. He should have looked in his history and seen that wine is not the solution. It's not the way to go, fun as it may be. He should have learned from Noach. He should have learned from Adam. He was contrite. And halfway down at the two dots on Ayin Amid Beis, the Gemara says, Ochal b'chaburas mitzvah, we said that even if a person eats the requisite amount of meat and drinks a gallon of wine, whatever it is, he still won't be a ben tzora rumora if he ate b'chaburas mitzvah. Amar Rabbi Abo, Eino chayav at shiochal b'chabura shekula srikin. You're only going to be chayav b'chabura if everyone is srikin, if everyone is basically a disaster of a human being. That's what srikin is from the word rake. That's what Rashi says. Shekula srikin, rakim. They're empty ones. Shiur giluhu bekach. Avalim yesh bechabura, says Rashi. Adam hagun b'chi hai gavna lo mamshech. That's not the kind of tzibur where you're going to become attached and addicted to that food, and then you would no longer be chayev in ben soreh umoreh. What's the drasha here? The Gemara says, "Va'onan tanan." We have a Mishnah. Achal bechaburas mitzvah eno nase ben soreh umoreh. Taima de mitzvah. The reason why you won't be a ben soreh umoreh is because there's a mitzvah going on. Halo mitzvah, but if your chabura was just going to shallots and fressing without there being a mitzvah involved, af al gav de lav kula srikin, we should have said you're still chayiv. We don't need the whole room to be a bunch of goons. As long as your chabura is a non-mitzvah chabura, it doesn't matter who's in the room. The diuk should be that af al gav de lo kula de lav kula srikin, you should still be a ben soreh umoreh in that case. So let's say I decide I'm going to go to shallots. I'm that 13-year-old kid. I eat a tarte marshal basar and chatzi lug yain ha'italki. It's not a mitzvah. 5 guys in the room are givaldik. 5 guys are train wrecks, one after the other. So the diuk from the Gemara should be that I'm chayiv in ben soreh umoreh. It says the Gemara. What? I have to pay cheap. It still has to be yain ha'italki. It has to be affordable, but it has to be yain ha'italki. You just don't pay full price. Because otherwise, it's not mamshech, it's not sustainable. So says the Gemara, hakamash malan, diafal gav de kula srikin. No, you have to make a different deal. That even though everyone is a train wreck, since you're doing a mitzvah, our brains are wired like that. Mitzvahs are not, they don't have that same type of, that gashmi, I need more of this, I need more in a gashmi way. It's not like that. You're only mamshech after Avera in that way. Achal bi'ibor achodesh, 2/3 of the way down to 2 dots. They apparently used to have a meal when they were ma'aber the chodesh. But that leaves a strange implication. Lememra, that seems to imply the basar v'yayin masku, that when they had the meal for the chodesh, for the ibor chodesh, they would have meat and wine. That's not true. The Tanya, the Brisa says, Ein olan la ela bipas, there's only bread, dug on his grain, v'kitnis are beans, bilvad. The meal was not a Suda proper. It was snacks. It was little things that they would hand out. I guess it was bread. It was a meal, but it was bread, it was grain, and it was beans. What was not found? Wine and meat. So it says the Gemara, Hakamashma, what do we come to learn from here? That Afal Gav to Ein Olen La Ela Bepas V'Kitnis, that even though it's true that everybody else ate bread and beans, the Ihu and this guy who's almost going to be a Ben Sora, Ramora Asig Basar V'Yayin, the Achal, he brought his own food to the party, BYOB. This guy showed up with a massive steak, and he showed up with a bottle of wine that was Yain Ha'italk, and he chugged the whole thing. Keban Dibba Mitzvah Kasik, since he brought it to a Suda of the Ibur Chodesh, so therefore, Lo Mamshech, we're not worried about him. We're not worried about him being Mamshech after the Tarte Marshal Basar and the Chatzi Lugyain Ha'italki. 3/4 of the way down, Tanu Rabbanan, the rabbis have taught us in a brisa. Ein olam be'ibur chodesh pachos me'asar bnei adam. Sidebar: when we talk about ibur chodesh, there need to be at least 10 people. Ve'ein olin la ela bepas dagan v'kitnis. Only food you can have is bread, grain, and beans. Ve'ein olin la ela le'ori buro. And it's only true the night after your ma'aber the chodesh. Ve'ein olin la b'yom ela b'layla. And it has to be at night. Says the Gemara, it can't be at night. Vatanya, ein olin la b'layla ela b'yom. The exact opposite. When do we celebrate with this little suda for the ibur chodesh? Is it night or day? Stira between the brises. So the Gemara says, Kedam Rav Chia bar Abba livnei. He says to his son, Achrifu v'ulu, Achrifu upuku. You should be sharp when you go in and sharp when you go out. This is a catchphrase. It's a colloquialism. And basically what it means is start during the day and end at night. It's both. You start toward the end of the day and you go late into the night. So everybody knows that you were Ma'aber the Chodesh. Says the Gemara, the next 2 dots, 10 lines from the bottom of the page, the Gemara says, Ochal Meiser Sheni Birushalayim. Let's remember, the food that was holy was wherever you lived in Ramat Beit Shemesh. You transferred the Kedusha onto the coin. You brought it to Yerushalayim, and you bought your Tarte Marshal Basar and your Chatzi Lugyayin Ho'italki, and you drank it there. Kevan Dechi Urchehu Ka'achile Lo Mimshich. No, this is how you eat Meiser Sheni. So it's not really a mitzvah, but it's the normal way to eat Meiser Sheni. So you're good to go. We're not worried about being mamshech. Achal nevelus to trefos shkatzim or masim. Amar Rava achal basar of. The diuk should be what's not included here? Chicken. We said basar is going to be a problem. Tarte marshal basar, and then it precludes tray food. So in between is oaf. What do we do with oaf? So it says the Gemara. Rava says that if you eat all of this oaf, ein nase ben sora remora. If you eat a tarte marshal oaf, you're not going to be a ben sora remora. The Mishnah seems to say that if it's tahor meat, or even a chicken, even fowl, the halacha should be that you are a ben sorah remor. So we have a stira. Says the Gemara, kitna nami mas nisan lahashlam. That's only to be mashlam. It has to be mostly meat. But if you didn't eat a full tarte mar, there's a little bit left over, and then you had a piece of duck, a piece of chicken, a piece of whatever. That's mashlam. Then you're going to be held accountable as a ben sorah remora. But if it was all chicken, you would not be a ben sorah remora. And lastly, for today, one little tiny last sugya, we said achal davar shu mitzvah davar aver. What is this talking about? Davar mitzvah tanchumei avelim. That if a person's eating food for tanchumei avelim, that they cannot become a ben sorah remora. Dvar avera. What is that talking about? Tainus tzibur. That's talking about a person breaking a fast for time amai. Because Amar Kra inenu shomea bekolenu. The pasuk says where the parents taina to bezdin, my son's not listening to me. But if the guy breaks the fast, who's he not listening to? It's not his parents. That's bekolenu. V'lo bekolo shel makom. If he's not going to listen to his parents, that's one thing. That's ben sorah remora. But when he breaks halacha, he's not listening to a Kadosh Baruch Hu. That's not ben sorah remora, and therefore he'd be patur. We'll stop right here at the 2 dots, 3 lines from the bottom of the page. We'll pick up Amir Hashem tomorrow night. Wishing you all a beautiful night.